My name is Sanjay Singh. I'm on a mission to uncover the meaning of extremism. I will not only be asking what extremism is, but who is extreme, why are they extreme, what can this lead to, and is there anything we can do as a society to prevent it?
I think there's a danger that with the word extremism, we automatically think this is something bad. This is something we should be frightened of.
I believe there is no such thing as an extreme Muslim as such. Rather, there is a practicing Muslim and a non-practicing Muslim. And I believe that anyone who practices Islam, it will always be against the interests of the government.
Perhaps it's an obsession.
Who is extremist? What are we doing in Afghanistan?
It's basically who I am and what I stand for and what I believe.
You would say you are an extremist?
Yeah. I have a go at anything.
Hi, is that Captain Beanie? Thank you very much. Barry Kirk is a self-proclaimed professional bean enthusiast who takes on the extreme alter ego of Captain Beanie to help get his message to the masses. Can we take a look inside the museum?
Yes, I must warn you, I have to deactivate the gas alarm because it's very intricate in here.
I think you can get lots of extreme activities that aren't harmful in any way.
You've got to be careful. Big beans.
I mean, I'm thinking now of Captain Beanie, who apparently wants to walk around Wales holding beans on toast in his hand. I would say that's extreme behaviour, but it's not in any way dangerous.
This is Kieran, and we're trying to raise £60,000 to take him to America for an operation called selective dorsal-rhizotomy. And Captain Beanie's here today to help us with the fundraising, and he's off on his mad walk around Wales.
This is my transport for the day. Don't forget now, pick me up from Cardiff. Good luck. Like I said, if anything untoward might happen to me, might get abducted by aliens. Yeah, perhaps they might hold me to ransom. I'll let you know. That'll be another story.
This is my passport. As you can see, it's totally genuine. It's actually got the name of Captain Beanie written on it, and hopefully it's going to be expired at the end of 2013. I love the attention. That's one thing that Captain Beanie always loves, is the attention. Like.
Extremism is really anything that lies outside of what's classed as normal. Extremism is constantly changing too. I mean, wearing miniskirts in the 1940s would have been seen as extreme, but I doubt you take a second look now. Well, maybe the boys. So, who out of these people do you think is an extremist? Major decision? Well, the truth is, all of them. What we're trying to say is, extremism isn't always destructive.
If by extreme we mean something that lies out of mainstream thinking, well, I think a lot of people, the majority of people, have got extreme views on certain issues. It's just whether you decide to act on those views.
We want to live a peaceful life.
And who are working against the government.
We don't hate anybody because of their colour of their skin.
And in fact, we want to overthrow the government to establish the Sharia.
We want to preserve our own race, nation and peoples. My name is Ian Edward. I'm Chairman of the National Front and Nominating Officer. The aims and objectives of the National Front is a return to a monoracial Britain, pre-1948 Nationality Act, which is and was a monoracial white stroke English British society. We are very much pro-United Kingdom. We are a British party for British peoples. We are, if you like, a racial preservation society. And in fact, how long ago was it a certain Mr Brown said, British jobs for British workers? Now that was very much a National Front slogan in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, let's face it, before mass immigration came, we had a perfectly stable society, we had a healthy society. In fact, we had one of the highest standard of living in Europe in the 1950s. Mass immigration equals mass profits. And the indigenous have to take the social consequence, which we do not accept.
If you don't listen to people, why should they listen to you? Now, there's respect involved in that. That can't be, I'm going to listen to you rant racist nonsense, right? That's not productive. But if there are real concerns that aren't based just on ignorance or narrow-mindedness, well, that's got to be part of a wider discussion.
There's very little understanding of the difference of why some people go on to commit acts of violence because of their extreme views.
You're quite an active Muslim, is that fair to say?
Well, it depends on your definition of active, but fair enough. I mean, I am involved in the Islamic movement, yes.
Anjem Chowdhury is an English-born Muslim and spokesperson for a number of extreme Muslim groups, some of which have been banned by the government for being concerned in terrorism.
So can we put some of those the laws into context? For instance, like what would differ about it now from sort of the crime and punishment, sort of justice and punishment system you've got in place now?
The justice system is obviously an obvious one where people look at it because they know, for example, we cut the hand of the thief. We are like Moses in the time of the Pharaoh. We know that Moses oppressed a lot of people, but eventually, who was victorious? Moses was victorious, and he grew up in the palace of the Pharaoh, and he overthrew him. So we are people growing up in the palace of Cameron and Barack Obama. One day we will overthrow them and establish the Sharia. This is not a battle of like 1 or 2 weeks or 1 or 2 years. This is a continuous war, ideological, political, economic, strategic, war, which ultimately will have a victor. That victor we have been promised is Islam and the Muslims. We will prevail one day in Britain. One day the flag of Islam, inshallah, will rise over Buckingham Palace and Downing Street. One day the Sharia will be implemented. One day, inshallah, your children will go to school and they will learn the sciences of the Sharia. And Allah, inshallah, will guide you and will guide others as well to Islam. So this is what we hope for, this is what we envisage. We don't want to live, and abide by the oppression and the injustice of man-made law. I do not discriminate on the basis of color, on the basis of gender, on the basis of background. We discriminate on the basis of thought. And we don't have a distinction between people of different nationalities. Muslims transcend all nationalities and boundaries. But definitely we do distinguish between a Muslim and a non-Muslim.
In your viewpoint, do you think the 7/7 bombers should be forgiven?
What should they be forgiven for?
I mean, I guess the British public would say the killing of, in their eyes, innocent people.
At the end of the day, you see 7/7 and 9/11 happened as a result and as a consequence of the foreign policy of the British and the Americans in Muslim countries.
You wouldn't, I guess, then describe your views as extreme, would you, I guess?
Not at all, because you see, the words like extreme, moderate, are seen from a certain perspective. For me, you are extreme away from the law of God. Whereas I am, a normal person, how God would want you to behave as a Muslim, abide by his commands, work for his Sharia. I think you're turning a blind eye to the real oppressors and the Pharaoh in this equation, which is the British and the Americans. And this is
okay. To
not fair,
flip the coin on the other side, then, do you think we should forgive, in your eyes, people like Tony Blair, Barack Obama, George Bush?
No, I think they should be punished for their crimes. They deserve capital punishment for the crimes that they committed, definitely.
We want people to have extreme views because that's part of a healthy society. But what we don't want is for people to act and commit acts of violence because of their extreme views.
It never occurred to me that my father would be a target. I didn't live kind of thinking one day, he might be killed.
In 1984, Sir Anthony Berry, a Tory MP, was killed in a blast caused by an IRA bomb. His daughter Jo Berry has dedicated herself to ensuring something good comes out of the tragedy.
On the early hours of the 12th of October, a bomb went off, killing 5 people and injuring many. And this might seem really odd, but I think it was 2 days afterwards I made a personal commitment to bring something positive out of what had happened. And my belief is that nobody is born wanting to hurt another human being. I think we need to understand people who choose violence to be heard. And for the last 9 years, I've been communicating with Patrick McGee, who was an IRA terrorist, who planted the bomb that killed my father. I just had so many emotions, fear about what am I going to feel when I meet him, and what's he going to say, and am I going to regret this? And I asked him lots of questions, and after about an hour and a half, he stopped talking, and he took his glasses off and he rubbed his eyes and he said, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what to say. He began to realise that he had killed a wonderful human being. You know, we all have the ability to make somebody the enemy. And I think it's very dangerous to make people the enemy, especially when it's a whole community. Because if the whole community is feeling not heard, then they're going to eventually, some of them, you know, might choose violence.
You do something violent, you go to jail. You get convicted, you go to jail, you pay your time. On the other hand, socially, religiously, philosophically, questions of forgiveness and understanding create better societies. So, I mean, the tough question, do I think forgiveness is right and good? I think societies fall apart without it, but I don't believe in forgiveness at any cost.
We can all put our hands up and say that we're extreme about something. As we've seen, extremism can take many different forms. Everyone has a right to their own beliefs, but to stop violence, we need to open up and talk about them. And now, I'll leave you with some brilliant advice.
Bean, 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 Captain Bean, beanie, 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 Captain Bean, beanie, 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 beano, beanie, beanie, beanie. Peter, first go with you. Nano, walk Mindy. Nano, beanie, 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 beanie. Thank you.
I just thought it'd be funny to cut that, to cut back to it. If we need gaps, we've got gaps to fill, just cut back to bean.
You were thinking of Family Guy that whole time.
No, I wasn't.